Hello, I'm Tommy Moore from the Bartitsu Lab. This is my assistant Katson, who has just run away, and I want to talk to you about Cornish wrestling. Now, Cornish wrestling has a huge living history tradition. You know, we hear in the Battle of Agincourt about the Cornishmen arriving with wrestlers on their banners, wrestlers on their flags. So, being Cornish and Cornish wrestling have always been interlinked. Now, before the zombie apocalypse happened last year, it was my intention to go to Cornwall and compete in some of the fairs. Sadly, a lot of those have been cancelled, and probably, I imagine, will be cancelled this year too. But I have done a fair bit of rolling, a fair bit of sparring in these jackets, and I thought you might find it interesting to see one in real life. So, some features you might notice. So, they're relatively short on the arm. They tend to go beyond the elbow, but up to mid-forearm. They're relatively short on the waist too. Relatively short on the waist. This is the back. They're typically made of a thick canvas or sailcloth. As you can see here, that's a level of thickness. So if you're used to grabbing a weighty gi, you'll find it relatively hard to make grips with this. But there are a couple of ways you can go around it. One of the more noticeable features is you get two roped areas here. So you get two areas of, again, sail rope or rigging rope here through brass loops. And it's through these that you get some very good opportunities to grapple and throw. Often these are grabbed like so, to pull, push, move and manipulate, or twist. So grabbing these you can twist. And with these jackets, because they're relatively looser fit, being able to bunch them is very important. So as you're grappling, the more you can bunch up a jacket like so and grip it, the more ability you have to move and manipulate a person. With this particular style, jacketed wrestling style, you always have to maintain your grip. It's not particularly a loose hold system. You have to have hold of the jacket to complete your throw. So again, making sure that you take away the slack on this is very important. By bunching here, even you'll see in lots of bouts, they get pulled up at the shoulder, so they roll it all the way at the back. As long as the jacket is on and you are grabbing the jacket, you are good to go. So these two here are used to pull, push, drag. They can be twisted, turned, you can grab them, turn over your back and throw. Gripping here, so rolling up the sleeve so you've got a much tauter grip. You can grip the sleeve like so, but because of the thinness of the material, you don't get the same kind of kikite, kazushi power you would get off a chunky judo gi. So with these, it makes sense to grab more fabric than you might already be comfortable with. But as I said, the main salient features, these two ringed ropes here, the fact they're shorter on the sleeve, that the fabric is thin enough, or it's thick enough to throw with, but it's thin enough that you do need to bunch and grab. The more that you roll the fabric through your fingers, the better purchase, the better lever you have to complete a throw. The throws in Cornish wrestling are much the same as you see in many other places. You get grapevine throws of the leg, you get sweeps, you get hypes, essentially lifting people up, swinging them and dropping them. You get cross buttocks, you get half buttocks. There's loads of things that any grappler anywhere in the world would be very familiar with. But I'd say one of the more unique features is the construction and nature of the jacket. These particular bad boys here, they offer lots of different wrestling options that you can play with, especially even at longer range. Just being able to pull and drag off these centre ropes offers a lot more opportunity. So this is a traditional Cornish wrestling jacket. They're an interesting piece to play with. They offer lots of opportunities, but also they offer weaknesses too, in that whatever you can do to the opponent, they can do it to you too. So if they're grabbing these, if they're rolling this up, if they're gathering the fabric, if they're pulling on, obviously there are no chokes in Cornish wrestling, it's a throw-based system, but you can apply some serious pressure if you gather the fabric, enough pressure to really land that throw in perfectly. So they're an interesting bit of kit. I would advise you to buy one, play with it if you're interested in folk wrestling styles. They're really quite an interesting tool to get used to working with. Devonshire wrestlers wear something very similar, but there are different rule sets. But as a folk wrestling jacket, this is hopefully something you might not have seen it before, you might have only seen it in videos. It's got some interesting features, but by all means make sure that you check out Cornish wrestling videos. When the world opens again, make sure you get to country fairs, give it a go. I'll be going down, I'll be taking some of my students with me. I think it's a really interesting and fascinating art, and I can't wait to get stuck in. But those are some of the features of a Cornish wrestling jacket.